Hello everyone, it's your boy Alexibot back in the office. Our journey on semen retention and sexual transmutation has just begun. Without sexual transmutation or semen retention, it means that we cannot simply think accurately or vibrate our thoughts to a certain level of frequency that we can actually attract what we want. It means that when we are on our mission or purpose, we need, I would say, laser-like focus. We need high energy or high amount of focus to be on our mission or purpose. So this simply means that we have to, I'll say, switch off every thoughts such as sex or every desire which magnetizes the brain into our mission or purpose. By this way, we are able to keep a laser-like focus on our mission. So we are going to be dealing with a very important topic here, which is very important. Today's presentation is very important. So I suggest that we listen to the very end on how we can actually master our sexual emotion and then transmute it. If you have been struggling with the emotion of sex, trying to, I'll say, understand it and then guide it, don't worry. As we keep moving on, you will learn how to master the emotion of sex and learn how to make it serve you rather than destroy. Now, we have to know that all the geniuses that we know in our past use this method. For instance, Tesla used what? Vibration of thoughts. Everything that you see around us, everything you see in the universe, right, is vibrating. Look at the dead body in the coffin. It's constantly vibrating. Other than that, why would it tend to dust after some time? Look at my hair. Why is it that I can't see that my hair is growing, but after some days, my hair starts to grow without even me realizing? This means that everything we see around us is vibrating. Sometimes things are vibrating so fast that they appear to be still. That is why we cannot see them moving, but they are actually moving. The same thing happens with our brain. Our brain is constantly vibrating at a certain frequency. So all the geniuses, Tesla, Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, were all vibrating their thoughts. We have to learn this, that if you focus your mind on a particular mission and then you switch off all these desires and transmute it, it means that the brain can then vibrate at that fast frequency. Now, we have to look at all the desires that I've mentioned here. The desire for money, the desire for loose opinions, the desire for food, desire for love, and desire for sex expression. All these desires can easily magnetize the brain cells. It means that as they magnetize the brain cells, the brain releases dopamine. And after we keep indulging in all these desires for a very long time, it becomes a habit. And focusing becomes very hard or nearly impossible. Why is it that I have placed sex at the first part of all the desires? Why is it that I have placed sex at the top part? Now, the reason being that sex carries with it so much emotion that is why most people, I'll say, risk their reputation and even their occupation to indulge in it, because this one carries with it the greatest amount of emotion. Now, all through life, I'll say that at a point in time, I used to struggle with food, this particular desire here. I used to struggle, but I was able to conquer it. Now, this was the most difficult one, which was the emotion of sex. The emotion of sex is what masters, I'll say, the wise and the young, the ignorant and even the strong. That if one is not able to master the emotion of sex, right, and properly understand the nature and function of sex, it means that sex can lead to undesired results instead of serving. Sex was actually created by the universe. It has a reason. The universe created the emotion of sex so that it can be used for procreation, meaning that for creation. It means that when it's not meant to procreate or give birth to, I'll say, people, it means sex should be transmuted into creating other things, like into our mind. Sex should be transmuted into creativity or imagination to guide us into becoming more creative. That is all that it means. Why this is placed at the top of my list is because this carries with it very high amount of weight and emotion, that it magnetizes the brain cells every time, that one is always or constantly thinking about sex. So what is sexual transmutation? Sexual transmutation simply means that we are switching off every sexual desire that we have into our mission or purpose. What are some of the sexual desires that we have? Some of them are watching of pornography, masturbation, and then indulging even in any form of sexual activity. Now note, it may not necessarily sometimes mean you have to watch pornography or masturbation or even indulge in the act. The mere act of thinking about it constantly all the time is even affecting the brain cells. It means that you cannot reach your, I'll say, your full potential if you constantly think about sex, it can take sometimes months or 3 months to finally master the emotion of sex. In the brain, every desire or thought impulse that magnetizes the brain cells what soon becomes what a habit. It means that when undesired habits like food keep magnetizing the brain cells, when someone keeps focusing his mind on food simply because he likes food, now this magnetizes the brain cells and soon it becomes an addiction. Now when note that when each time you get addicted to something, it means that you cannot fully what focus or vibrate your thoughts to that, I'll say, high level of frequency to focus on a particular purpose or on a mission. So this tends to what dull the imaginative faculty or what reasoning capacity. Let's take for instance the desire for, let's say, the desire for drugs like marijuana and all that. Now when you keep having the desire for, I'll say, drugs and keep indulging in it, after some time it becomes addiction because you start experiencing, the brain releases these chemicals like dopamine and all that, which what magnetizes the brain cells, so it becomes a habit and an addiction. Now this is why it dulls the brain, because the brain cannot function at its what at its normal frequency without those what chemicals or without those, I'll say, drugs or substances. Now let's take the emotion of sex, that this is the last stage. Now anyone who can master the emotion of sex and the emotion of love and then transmute it into a particular mission or purpose, this person is now on his way to becoming a genius. Now that is the last stage of becoming a genius. The last stage of becoming a genius simply means that you are able, you've mastered all this what desires and then you've switched it off. Now you are now at the emotion of sex and love, and finally you have been able to what I'll say switch off these emotions, not necessarily switching them off completely. It means temporarily. It means when we say we are transmuting sex, temporarily we are transmuting sex when we are not what copulating or we are not procreating yet. It means that nature may put sex there so that when you are not procreating, it means that you should transmute it. That is what all that it means. When you are not procreating, you should be able to master the emotion of sex and then transmute it. So finally, after transmuting this, it means that we are now on our way to becoming a genius. Now, why have I played this block there or this break? It means that the emotion of sex can be blocked, just like how a river is blocked for some time. But eventually, the river finds a less worthy outlet to flow out. That is the same as sex. It means that you can temporarily hold your sexual emotion for some time. But if you do not learn or master how to switch it, it means that eventually this particular emotion will find a less worthy outlet and then switch. It's like river. The water will flow into a less worthy outlet. That is all that it means. Now, that is why we can find some people, okay, their let's say religious beliefs or churches have told them sex is bad, sex is not good, so you don't have to even indulge it. Therefore, these children sometimes do not understand the true nature of sex. So eventually it starts seeking expression into other less worthy outlets, like here video games. Then it starts seeking expression into other less worthy outlets, aggression and then drugs, other less worthy outlets like sports and then basketball. Now you have to note why I put sports and basketball, still stating that sports and basketball is less worthy outlet, is because if sports or the basketball is not in line with your mission, it means you keep playing sports or basketball, but it's not going to add any value to you as a person. The same way with video games. You keep playing video games. The same video game supplies this dopamine to the brain cells like sex. So some of these children are able to switch in their emotion into video games. Now this video games is able to supply the same I'll say emotion that sex does, the same dopamine chemicals to the brain cells. So sooner or later they get addicted to video games, or their soul mind, everything, their focus is addicted to video games. The same thing applies to social media, television. Now eventually it switches off into less worthy outlet. I've placed the mission or purpose. It means that in order to fully master the emotion of sex and then take control, adequate control of it, it means that you have to find a particular mission or purpose. You have to find out who you truly are. Now, in our subsequent videos or later on, I'm going to show how we can find our purpose, how we can actually, I'll say, go deep down within us and then discover our purpose. Now, if we are able to find our mission or purpose, that's something which serves the same dopamine, like sex or any of these, right? Something that we enjoy doing. It means that when you like drawing, you have found a purpose. When you like, I'll say, you are good at something and you enjoy doing it. At the same time, you are creating, I'll say, value to people. That is mission or purpose. This simply means that now it's serving the same what dopamine. So this way you can what? Switch off everything and then concentrate on this, because this is making you what? Happy. This is giving you that, I'll say, that drive. So this way we have said that this is what? Sexual transmutation. Now you have been able to fully what? Transmute your sexual energy into a mission or a purpose. So now with this, you are able to vibrate your thoughts by switching off all this what? All these desires. You can easily focus and then vibrate your thoughts on a mission, and sooner or later, as you keep vibrating your thoughts to that high frequency, your sixth sense become what? Activated, or your something we call the third eye. So I'll say that this is the beginning of our semen retention journey and sexual transmutation. Now there's a fine correlation between sexual transmutation and then accurate thinking. Without mastering of this particular emotion, it means accurate thinking becomes nearly difficult and impossible. It means that no one can be entirely free, but it requires sufficient level of what? Discipline and dedication to be willing to sacrifice almost every desire to make life hand over whatever it is wanted. It means that when we are transmuting our sexual energy, now you have to understand that this is temporal. We are only transmuting it when we are not what? About when we are not ready for procreation. It means when we are not ready for procreation, we will try as much as possible to switch off all the desires and then leave the brain cells for what? This particular thing, which is mission and purpose. When we leave the brain cells, so that this mission and purpose can as well what? Magnetize the brain cells, so that it now becomes a habit. Then only you can vibrate the thoughts to a certain frequency, that particular frequency, to attract the mission that you are on. That is all that it simply means. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and then subscribe. To all of you, I say that greatness is yours. See you next time.